Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Podcast on Personality Development. This is your host, Aaditya Mehta. What is passion? What is purpose? Is there a difference between passion and purpose? Or can passion get aligned with purpose? Pretty interesting, right? But for answering these questions, we need to deconstruct stories which exists in our mind, and who better can guide us than a coach himself who helps his client to do the exact same thing and overcome their fears. So let me get him on the show for you. Till the time, if you are new on this podcast and you haven't followed this podcast, please do that and show us some love by providing ratings to this show. Without any further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to today's episode. In this episode, we have Colin Kingsmill, an entrepreneur, coach, and a founding partner at Whole Human Coaching and a strategic advisor to Kalo. And he is also authoring a book on which he will say later on this show. So, hello, Colin. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm really good. Hello from Atlantic Canada, Nova Scotia. Doing really well,
Wonderful.
thanks.
Wonderful. It's just one thing about podcasting that I love is I get to connect people all around the world, and that's pretty interesting. You mentioned it as well that you are from Atlantic Canada, which is really fascinating. Which would have been really fascinating few years back when I did started this podcast, but now it just seems like, oh, Canada, right? So
Right.
that's been a journey, but thank you so much, Colin, for joining in on today's episode, taking out your valuable time and being a part of the show. I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for doing that.
You bet. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Colin. First of all, I'm pretty sure what I have given, or what I have told about you is just a short, crisp introduction. But people would love to hear a more brief introduction from your side. So, if you are willing to
Sure.
give that brief introduction.
Yeah, sure, of course. Gosh. Um, so I was born in Canada and raised between Canada and Switzerland. So I've kind of lived in Europe and in Canada most of my younger the days of youth, way back when. And for the past 20 years or so, I've been in international real estate, destinations, placemaking, hospitality, and tourism. So I've had um, I've had this really incredible international global experience, and I've jumped into the deep end many times, not knowing what was going to happen next. So that kind of allows me created in me this fearlessness, and that's what I want to share with others with the book, and that's what I share with all of my coaching clients as well. Is how do you become fearless, and how can you really you know deconstruct the stories in your head that are holding you back. And fear is so often one of those things that holds us back from being exceptional or really following our dreams. So yeah, be fearless.
Wow, that's a great message for starting off, because that is one thing which people I think have to have that skill of fearlessness. So I feel that's a great way to start the show as well. That you have to be fearless to admit certain stories which are stories in your head and they are not reality, and sometimes the
Hmm.
stories which are there in your head might be the truth and you just need to accept that. And for all these things, fearlessness is required at the most. I'm pretty sure we will talk about that, but for now we will dive straight into the topic, and that is passion and purpose. I feel this topic is really close to my heart as well. I have so many questions on that
Yeah,
straight up,
go for it.
because you know, like, I have started this passion of mine, and that is podcasting, and currently
Mm,
it's going great as well. And somewhere I feel I have aligned the purpose to it as well, of contributing to the society with good knowledge around the globe, right? But
right.
the very first question is the very basic one. I mean, according to you, what is passion, and what is purpose, and is it different from each other, or is it the same thing, and
Right.
we just have to make sure that both of them falls under the same bucket?
Yeah, good question. So I think this idea of, quote unquote, follow your passion is uh, is not a great um, it's not a great practice for life and for a fulfilling life. And I'll tell you why, because I really do think purpose and passion are two different things. And what you said earlier about you've been able to align purpose and passion, right? So
Hmm.
you're one of those rare individuals that have overlapped the two. But I think it's beneficial to your listeners to really look at those two things separately, because
Hmm.
you could be passionate about, I don't know, model building or boat building or puzzles or anything, right?
Hmm.
But 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 if you pursue that passion, it doesn't necessarily set you up for a life of abundance, right?
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
is this is this is why I think it's good to disconnect and decouple the two, because so often in society we get told, oh, follow your passion, right?
Right.
Follow your passion. And a lot of times that leaves people, they've done it for a few years, but their passions have changed and their interests have changed, and they might get burnt out or depressed or full of anxiety because of that sort of passion pursuit. It feels a little bit like, I don't know, like taking a drug almost, right? Like, I'm going to
Right.
pursue my passion because I'm going to get the dopamine hits and the endorphins, every day, all day. But,
Right.
but that is a very short term, that has a very short term impact, I think.
Hmm.
But if you can follow your purpose, right?
Hmm.
I think I think that's much has a much longer event horizon. It has much more longevity to it. It carries with it the idea of you being impactful over time, right?
Hmm.
You being remembered for something that
Right.
is more stable, stronger than simply a passion.
Hmm.
Okay, so when younger people are, getting into university or getting out of university, or in this moment in time of deciding what to do next with their lives, I think the pursuit of purpose is much more impactful than the pursuit of passion. So to answer your question, I would definitely separate the two.
Hmm.
And if you're making life choices, decisions,
Hmm.
follow the follow the purpose route.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I really like the concept over here that you know purposeful life is more impactful, and it's not only for you, but it is for the people with whom you are surrounded. I feel
Mhm.
that itself makes a valid point, because you are not alone in this entire world. You have so many people around you, and somewhere it feels that you don't only have responsibility of yourself, but you have to add purpose in your life in such a way that it is not only purposeful for you, but it is also purposeful, like your life is also purposeful for other people. And I feel that's something which people needs to understand. And it's not importantly that they need to understand, but it's something which, it's all about giving back to the society from where you are getting so much. So I feel that's really one of the thing which I catched from it. However,
Yeah.
you mentioned that, taking a purposeful path is really important rather than going towards the passion. But
Hmm.
and this is really great because one of the individual or one of the guests who was on the show few episodes back, he
Yep.
told me this beautiful thing, that there are two important days of, any person's life. The
Hmm.
first one is the day when they were born, and the
Hmm.
second one is when they realize why they were born, the purpose of
Aha.
their lives, right? and
Exactly.
and and most of the people, I would, like 3 years or maybe 2 years back, I didn't knew what my purpose of life is. I was just
Hmm.
living the same mundane life,
Sure.
with everyday routine going on, and I was pretty happy with that. I was in my comfort zone as well. But one day it just came to me that I should be doing this because I love doing it and it adds value in people's life as well. People surrounded by me as well, so people with whom I am surrounded by, it adds value in their lives, and I thought that I should be doing it. But there
Mhm.
are there are so many people out there who are yet to get their purpose, who are yet to determine what that purpose is. So and it becomes difficult for, for someone who is following the same routine life every day, and they are in their comfort zone, getting good amount of
Sure.
money, having a good life, having a good lavish life, I would say. And some of them are doing it for the sake of fulfilling the responsibilities towards their family,
Sure.
towards their social circles, and many more things.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
all these things, how can they identify their purpose? Like,
Right.
what can they do to identify their purpose and then
Mhm.
move onwards to that particular path?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things there. The first is that your purpose does not have to be to win a Nobel Peace Prize,
Hmm.
or to come up with nuclear fission. Your purpose could be to be the best father in the world, or to be the best mother to your children.
Hmm.
Purpose can be something very simple, very sacred, very natural. So just the first thing I would do is turn down the volume on the expectations that
Hmm.
you need to become a rocket scientist or something. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is discovering your purpose, right? As simple as it can be, or as complex as it might be, is is really just an exercise in how do you want, or answering the question of how do you want to be impactful, and what do you want to be remembered for. What do you
Hmm.
want, what do you want really your sort of person, if you're in business, what do you want your personal brand to be? Okay.
Hmm.
So whatever situation or scenario you're in, family, work, age, whatever, just ask yourself, um, how do I want to be impactful? And I would go back to what you said earlier about being in the comfort zone. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Comfort zone is pretty, it's great,
Mm-hmm.
but the question is, are you showing up as much as you could be showing up?
Hmm.
That's right. So comfort zone means you don't really, there's no distractions, you're comfortable, this is easy going. Like you said, it may be lavish in some instances, but is that what this is all about? You know,
Hmm.
is there more? Could you be doing more? Is that comfort zone serving you and serving others, or is it just making you bored and lazy, right? Or
Right.
complacent or whatever. So a purpose driven life is really just, let me take a look at the picture now, right? Am I in a comfort zone? Could I be outside of it? What are
Mm-hmm.
the possibilities? What's the potential, right?
Right.
And what's the sort of legacy that I want to leave? What do I want to be remembered as or by?
Wow.
So that's how I would kind of dive into your purpose. And it's not easy. We live in a very complex world. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter where in the world you are. Um, Life is complicated and full of distractions
Yeah.
and full of news and social media and societal pressures and family pressures, and it can all be overwhelming.
Right.
So, in the process, be gentle to yourself.
Of course, of course. I mean, I completely agree to the things which you said. Sometimes we have this huge expectations that we are going to do this, we are going to do that, and somewhere social media plays a very critical role over here as well, because there is a 30-second or maybe 45-second video on the social media nowadays, and it just it just gives you a message, and there is such a high possibility that you are misinterpreting that message as well, because you don't know what the speaker is actually saying in just 30 or 45 seconds. Sometimes
Yeah.
what we understand is completely, it's exact opposite of what the speaker is trying to speak, or give a message in that particular 30 to 45 seconds. And sometimes when there are this huge motivational videos on YouTube and on Instagram and everywhere,
Yeah.
that we have this huge expectation somehow that we are going to do some great things in life, and I'm like, we will be creating a huge legacy. And
Yeah.
I do remember this, in the season 6 of this very podcast. I'm using this all the references because
Yeah.
currently there are certain things which I have learned, and I just want to make sure that the audience remembers that. And also, while having to listen to this conversation, audience,
Yeah.
I'm telling you that you remember all these things which you have already listened to this podcast. And this is something which actually proves that you should have the expectation from yourself, which is true to yourself. It's not about
Hmm.
showing the world what you are made of. It's about
Yeah.
just proving it to yourself that what you are made of, and what you can do, and how you want to be remembered. Like that was a great thing, because yes, I was saying about the season 6, where I was doing a season on personal branding, and there was an episode on
Yep.
legacy. And
Hmm.
in that, there were these two beautiful ladies who said that legacy is something, it's and many people have this misconception, like how you are going to be remembered when you are not in this world. It's not like that. It's like when you are not even in the room. Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
How
Exactly. How do you?
people. Right. Please go ahead.
No, you're totally right. It's like, how do you want people to talk about you when you're not in the room?
Right.
Because that's that's what you're leaving behind, right? That's what you're emitting into the world. So yeah, you don't have to be dead, and you don't have to be
Right.
Mother Teresa,
Right.
but decide, and you can decide what what is the impact you want to have on people.
Right. That is so true. And set that impact. When you have that impact that you are changing lives, it
Mhm.
itself makes you sleep well at night, I would say, because that's something which you are leaving behind. And I completely agree with what you said, Colin. Like, what how you want to be remembered is the most critical thing, and that's how your purpose will be defined, that what
Mhm.
you want to do in your life and how you can go ahead. However, I did have a follow-up question,
Yeah,
that
of course.
when you see that these social medias, as I mentioned, that sometimes we misinterpret, and sometimes the message itself is not very clear, and sometimes we just go ahead with it and try to do something new, and sometimes we just don't get success in that particular area, and somehow we
Yeah.
just drop down our guards and say, you know what, I'm not going to do it, and I'm not able to do it. So
Hmm.
in this social media centric world, I would say, how do you stop yourself to get influenced in in the more passion driven industry?
Yeah.
Because you are actually getting influenced into that passion driven industry, you are not actually identifying what your purpose is. Okay. Or sometimes even, is that your passion? Like whatever that you are watching on social media, sometimes you don't even know that that is actually your passion. You are just following blindly because you just got influenced, right? So
Well, they're
yeah,
the algorithms are so powerful, right?
yeah, yeah,
That you're not even, it's not even about being blind, it's about being manipulated. Okay.
exactly,
So very good point you're making, but I
right,
would say it's even stronger than you're saying. I think it's more insidious, and I think it's
yes,
more dangerous and unhealthy for us,
yes.
right?
And in this kind of environment, how do you feel that we can save ourselves to not get manipulated and drive into something which is in future it's going to be an accident for us?
Yeah, turn it off. Turn
Ah,
it all off. Okay.
yeah.
Get outside, get into nature, start speaking with real people.
Hmm.
Stop worrying about the number of followers. And for example, like even like this, like in podcasting, right?
Hmm.
Have If you want to be on social media, or you want you want to create a bigger following, we'll have conversations like this all day long, right?
Right.
Or however much you want. But we all need to recognize that social media is hyper novel. It's brand new. We don't know the impact on the brain, on our
Hmm.
neurological systems. Our evolutionary biology certainly never prepared us for this, but
Hmm.
it's insidious, and it's not healthy for you. So turn it off, talk to real people, get outside into nature, and community build with real people, because there's an epidemic of loneliness around the world,
Hmm.
precisely because of social media. Because everybody has gotten onto their screens, we're not connecting with our fellow humans. So
Right.
I'm on a mission. I'm really on a mission to help people rediscover their humanity,
Hmm.
because we've lost it. We've lost that touch.
Yeah, that is so true. And I completely agree that stop using social media. But one of the thing which I want to ask over here, you said stop thinking about the numbers, but number game is all right now on social media nowadays, because Instagram pays you certain amount of money if you have good amount of followers, and then there is a
Sure.
concept of verified profile, that is that blue tick which everyone wants. Then there is a concept of certain learnings on social media, like this podcast is on Instagram itself. uh
Hmm.
I mean, you yourself are on is on Instagram,
Sure.
right? You have a profile on
Sure.
Instagram, and I feel as creators, we do have profiles on Instagram because we want to add values in people's life. But at the same time, you cannot completely shut it off, right? I mean, of course it would be a great thing, but then what would happen is that there are certain things which people may miss out, which are there in social media and which are not there Like
Sure.
normally that happens, like there is some controversy which is happening and you are completely disconnected from the media, and it's like you don't even know that. For example, even
Right.
LinkedIn I wouldn't say it is a social media platform, but I would say that it is a social media platform for the people, for learners and contributors, I would say. Okay.
Yeah.
Not for the purpose of just chilling and enjoying and dancing and everything.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So even LinkedIn is a social media where you can find some great people to connect with. So
Yeah.
what would you like to say about the use of social media? Because
Yeah. So
yeah, because the
no,
thing
I get
is
it.
that at this state, for any individual to completely shut off social media, I feel that would be really really difficult. But if they want to use social media in a pretty efficient manner, how can they do that? If you can spare
Right.
some light on that.
Sure. So I think what you want to do is decide. So if you've thought about purpose and passion and you've figured that out, right? I think what you want to do is use social media to your benefit, okay, and
Hmm.
decide on the channels that are going to be most beneficial to get your purpose out there to the audience. Okay,
Hmm.
if it involves broadcasting and it involves speaking to people, decide which channel you want to use. And I think it's all about awareness. Okay,
Hmm.
I think what we need to do is to just recognize that when we do go onto these platforms and these channels, that it's like eating a junk food, or it's
Hmm.
like eating from a box of chocolates.
Hmm.
If you grab a box of chocolates, right, and eat the whole thing, you're going to get sick. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not saying forget about the chocolate box or the junk food or whatever,
Hmm.
but be aware of what you're consuming,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Be aware of what you're consuming and that you are part of an algorithm, and also
Hmm.
be aware and attentive to what you're broadcasting, right? So
Right.
it's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Hmm.
It's just about deciding where you want to be most impactful, right? what is
Right.
what is the, how will your voice, how will your ideas, how will your conversations be most accepted or reciprocated or real, right? So that's all I'm saying. I mean, look, I don't want to bash social media, but I got rid of last year. I got rid of 2,000 friends on Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and I have 300 now. And you know, nobody wrote me on LinkedIn and said, "Oh my gosh, we're not friends on Facebook anymore." That didn't happen.
That didn't
So
happen. True.
so just I would probably suggest to your listeners to ensure that if you're talking about purpose, you're talking about your voice and what you want to get across to people on social media. Just ensure that while you're doing that, it's your sense of self-worth is not connected to those numbers.
Hmm.
I think that's really important, to
Well,
disconnect sense of
hmm.
self from, I don't know, the number of followers you've got or whatever.
Well, that's really wonderfully said. And if you disconnect that, you are just a genuine person who wants to share something with the audience, rather than completely focusing on the number of followers or number of likes or comments. I feel that is really a strong message to give an audience. I have told you so many times
Mhm.
that, this is the social media algorithm is getting you manipulated. However, there is one advice from my side as well, which I have told in
Yeah,
social media influence episode,
yeah,
that always make sure to follow contradictory accounts. Okay, always follow, okay, the the account on which you are learning certain things, but always follow the other side of the account, which is
yes,
exactly opposite, right? And
yes, yeah, for sure.
if you can do that, you actually listening to both the sides of story, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to go for, right? So always make sure to do that, and I'm pretty sure this is going to help you out in the long run. So
Definitely,
make sure
definitely,
to do
because
that. Yeah,
you want to get out of your little echo chamber, right?
right.
Because if you're constantly listening to people that you agree with and that they agree with you, I don't know. I don't think you're growing. I don't think you're expanding
Right.
as an individual. So I'm a very I totally agree with you. Left, right, up, down doesn't matter. Just look at everything you're reading or seeing and know that there's a different story, there's another angle, there's more complexity to it. you know
Hmm.
because we live in this broadcasting world of snippets and headline news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Life is not a headline news. So
Hmm.
yeah, pick and choose and absorb from all different angles. Look at geopolitics, look at some history. Just know that it's not the clickbait that you just clicked
Of
on.
course.
It's more, right? It's more
Right.
complex. That's all.
Wonderfully said. I completely agree, and clickbait was a great example itself. I mean, the analogy for clickbaits always works, because, I mean, clickbait shows you something different and the content is completely different, and somehow you are getting trapped. I mean, I do get trapped on YouTube sometimes by
Oh yeah,
just looking at the clickbait.
for
So
sure.
yeah, and the
100,
name itself, clickbait is the name, no, justifies it all. So it's
totally,
really
totally.
uh, a good thing to go for, and it's a clearly a powerful message to give. So wonderful, Colin. I mean, I
Yeah,
do understand all the things. However, there is one last question. You
sure.
believe in fearlessness, okay?
Hmm.
And because you believe in this, I have to ask this question. How is it important to actually live a purposeful life? Because, I mean, people are afraid of so many things.
Hmm.
Like, for example, people would be afraid to live a purposeful life just thinking about, will it give me enough money for supporting my
Hmm.
family and myself? you know
Hmm.
because they
Hmm.
they don't know whether it's going to be successful or not, right?
Hmm.
And people would be afraid about so many other things, like
Sure.
how people are going to judge me. I
Yeah.
mean, if I say from my personal experience, I didn't started uploading videos on Instagram till the second year of this podcast.
Oh,
I
wow,
I
okay.
started, yeah, and I started it in the third year, and for the first 2 years I was really afraid that how people are going to judge my face, or how people are going to judge me when when
Mm-hmm.
when they see me on the video, right? And
Right,
then on the
right.
third year
Yeah,
I've slowly started uploading shorter formats of the videos on Instagram.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there are so many modes to get afraid. But how do you think fearlessness can help in living a purposeful life?
So tell me, I have a question for you. Tell me
Yeah.
how liberating and freeing was it to go on camera, to put the videos up, to not be afraid of what others would think. Tell me about what was that experience like for you?
Well, when I did uploaded the first video, I got, like, so many good comments. Everything was going great, and people
Yeah,
actually congratulated me for overcoming that fear.
yeah,
And it was pretty amazing. But at the end of the day, all that mattered to me is I did it. You know, and
mm-hmm,
because I am a very spiritual person, so I would
mm-hmm,
say, finally God just gave me a good amount of courage to actually upload a video on a
mm-hmm,
social media platform.
mm-hmm,
And none of the other comments or likes or feedback, they didn't really matter to me, you know
mm-hmm.
because all I knew till that time is I was afraid of getting judged.
Right.
However, this was just in my mind. I mean,
Mm-hmm,
people people didn't even thought about it, to be very honest. People thought that I'm a great speaker, and I'm doing great on my podcast. But it was when I uploaded my first video, people came, like I came to know that no one is there to judge me. Everyone is just there to support me. So yeah, I mean, that was my first experience. Yeah.
So now, can you imagine if you took that fearlessness, okay, and
Hmm.
you applied that to everything in your life? How
Wow.
would that? What would that feel like? That, because to me, I heard liberation, I heard freedom, I heard levity, I heard spirituality, I heard a connection to your God. Like a lot happened when you
Hmm. Of
gave
course.
gave up, right? So my two questions: what
Yeah.
can you imagine what would happen if you applied that across the board, right? And can you imagine how much more energy you would have, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because and I think I always use this analogy of a fuel tank, right? Like how much fuel do you have in the reserve in your tank, and
Right.
how much were you spending? How much energy were you spending on being afraid of going public with a video, right?
Hmm.
And and you don't have to quantify it now, but think about it for a second, because by holding yourself back, that was, you were holding some energy inside about
Hmm.
this fear, and you were thinking about it, and you were spending time on it, and you were spending energy on it by not coming into the video realm. So
Hmm.
couple questions: can you imagine if you were fearless across the board, and can
Hmm.
you imagine how much energy you would have by
Hmm.
not telling those stories in your head of judgment?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow, that's a pretty interesting question. I mean, I don't know if I can express that in words right now. I mean, I have a big smile
Okay.
on my face. That itself explains it. But
Mm-hmm.
if I do think about it, there is this one song which comes to my mind by Rachel Platten. It's known as the Fight Song, and
Okay.
there is like one line over there that I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. You know, so
Mm,
even with a small fuel, like very less fuel, I would say, if I still have a single match and if it just gets connected, there can be a good fire inside,
oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah. Exactly.
and that would be so satisfying, and that would be so energetic, and that would be so much like I would be able to do so many things, uh because what happens is whenever the fuel gets over, you need a refuel, right? You need a refill
Hmm.
of that fuel. But
Yes.
because of all these things, the fuel automatically gets refilled, because there are some great things which are happening. So I think that's what my answer would be, that it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
but how much work you are doing, but the fuel wouldn't get over because you are doing something great, and it's great, it's getting appreciated, and you yourself are feeling satisfied with your hard work,
Yeah.
and which gives you motivation for doing more and more hard work.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, look, you've answered your question, right?
Right.
The when you when you can see fear for what it is, take it off of the table, right?
Hmm.
That allows your purpose driven existence to have all the fuel that it needs, to have abundance, to like you said it perfectly. Your fuel tank fills up automatically when you're not focused on the fear that's holding you down, or the fear of judgment, or the fear of this, or
Hmm.
the fear of that. All of that stuff is is like a prison. It's like a chain that's
Hmm.
holding you down.
Hmm.
So do you want to stay in that state, or do you want to fly? You decide. Not you
Wow.
specifically, but
Everyone has to decide. Yeah.
um and that's why I say, when I speak to people about deconstructing to reconstruct, we've been brought up in a very complicated world in a very complicated time. The last 40 years have been like nothing else in humanity for thousands of years. So very complicated, very different. Our bodies are still adjusting to that, to all of that. Our biology is. Um,
Mhm.
you know, do you want to live in that state of mind with those stories that you're telling yourself and the conditioning that you've been given? You know,
Right,
I don't. You know, and look at
right.
you, look at you of that example of coming out uh, onto screen
Hmm.
and being embraced.
I
You
mean,
know.
yeah, that was pretty amazing, truly.
Mhm.
Very well constructed answer by me, but you asked the right questions as well. So I feel the credit goes to you. So very well said, Colin. I really appreciate that. Uh, However, Colin, we are almost at the verge of
Yeah.
ending this episode,
Yes.
but I'm pretty
Okay.
sure I'm going to get you back for the second part of this as well for sure. But before parting today, I have just one
Yeah.
last question, and that would be, if people wants to get connected with you, how
Yeah.
can they find you on the internet?
Yeah. Just find me at colinkingsmill.com. That's just my name. colinkingsmill.com. That's the best place to find me. I'm also on Instagram, but I don't love it. But the website is the best. You can book a call with me anytime. So yeah, just reach out there.
Wonderful, Colin. I'm definitely sure, audience. I'm going to specify the link in the description, so you are just a click away from Colin
Okay.
Kingsmill, and
Yeah.
make sure to specify that you came to know about him on this by listening to this podcast, and I'm pretty sure he'll give you some premium service. So make sure to do that.
Absolutely.
And well, I'm just kidding, but I'm pretty sure he'll still give it. So thank you
Of
so much,
course.
Colin,
Okay.
for being a part of this show, and being very generous about giving the insights and the answers which you gave so perfectly. So thank you so much for
You bet.
giving your valuable time, and I really
You
really
bet.
appreciate it. With that being said, audience, if you feel that this episode adds value in your life, then make sure to share it with your loved ones, because they deserve to fly as well, right? Thank you so much for listening to this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.